Hi everybody, welcome to episode 11 of Satellite 664. I'm one of your two co-hosts, Kaz Tagyan, and as always I'm joined by...
Me!
Who are you?
Oh God, I've forgotten.
You're the...
No, I'm Loopy, I'm in London, and today, well, we're actually recording this on the day of Clive Burr's birthday.
Indeed, the 8th of March, the birthday of the late great Clive Burr, rest in peace. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Clive, a little bit about his legacy, and we're also going to talk about, I guess, the event Burrfest that was held just this past weekend in honour of Clive. So, Loopy, now you were Clive's drum tech in 1980-81. So you got to know him pretty well, and we've discussed in great detail in episode 1 your dealings with Clive, and we don't really need to go over. We don't need to go over all that again.
If people want to know more, then obviously go back to episode 1, or just buy a copy of the Loopy World book.
Yeah. I think you gave
which at the moment can only be found on eBay, which is ridiculous. So my website is still down. I don't know why.
You've gone hard copy now, haven't you?
That wasn't me. That was the guy, Stefan Duras, in Croatia, who works for the Made in Croatia website.
Sorry, hardcover. Hardcover. My apologies. Hardcover.
Yeah. So yeah, there are hardcovers out there, but not that many. I think we only did probably less than 100.
Which are all sold from what I understand.
It's they're all being posted out by Stipe. That originally they were meant to be going out as a special edition, but he has just sold them separately, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, it was a good idea, and they look great. They do look great.
So Clive would have been 63, which is really hard to believe. I mean, almost every photo that you see of Clive, whether it's, it is obviously from back in the day. I mean, such a young, handsome, fit-looking gentleman. Hard to believe he would have been 63 today. He would have been 63 had he have lived.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. But then I'm 63 in May, and I don't see myself as 63. I mean, it's that kind of case of, if I'd known then what I know now, I would probably have stayed in the music business, but I would have a lot more knowledge about what I was doing. And maybe if that was the case, then maybe I wouldn't have pissed Clive off so much that he had to get rid of me. I don't know.
Steve, after you finished working with them and the band went on to record The Number of the Beast, who became Clive's drum tech on the Beast?
There's a guy called Colin Clayton took over from me. He was originally brought in to look after Adrian's guitars. Whether he knew anything about guitars, I don't know, but he was actually brought in to take over from me. But look after Adrian first, and then when I got fired at the end of the Japanese tour, Colin stepped straight in. So yeah.
Did Colin continue after Clive's departure to look after Nick?
As far as I'm aware, Colin was there up until Clive got fired.
Oh, so end of 82.
Yeah.
Oh. Interesting. So this past weekend, the Burrfest event occurred. Could you, now you know a lot about this, could you give us just a brief history of Burrfest? So what the event, who actually conceived the event?
It was actually conceived by two people, Andy Holloway, who is still there, and a guy from Holland, Lucas Erwin Lucas. Yeah, Erwin Lucas. Erwin left him to it 2 years ago. He basically just went, I've had enough, and he walked away. Andy promoted the last year's Burrfest pretty much all on his own. In fact, not pretty much. He did everything. But on the show day, I went in there, help him get bands on and off stage, make sure that things sort of ran to time. And then Andy offered me a partnership, sort of run like Burrfest this year, and help to organise next year's event, which I was quite happy to do, quite simply because Andy had thought through everything for this year's event. There was no need for me to sort of be there. So the idea behind the event, obviously, is there used to be an event called Clive Aid. Now, Clive Aid stopped probably about 2012, and there was a gap in the market. So Andy and Erwin came up with this idea to do Burrfest, put artists related to Maiden, originally that was the original idea, put them on a bill, decent sized venue, and the first was done at a place called The Lounge near Archway in North London, but it was kind of small, and over the last 2 years it's been done at the Dome at Tufnell Park, which is again probably about another 150, 200 people more capacity, and this year's event sold out, so 450 people, and that's including like artists, guests, all the rest of it. And we had sort of ideas of how we wanted to progress over the next few years. The idea if we could have sold this one out, which Andy did, and I've got to say that I've got to sort of step back and sort of add my admiration to Andy for doing that. He did all of that himself, and bless him, he's got a new job. He's got a young baby who's going to be 1 in a few weeks' time, and trying to hold all that down and still manage to sell out Burrfest. It's quite an amazing feat when you think about it. So anyway, like because of ongoing, and they still are ongoing, various medical issues that I have, I put a post up on Facebook recently saying that I don't need to justify myself, but I pulled away from Burrfest. I'd already spoken to Andy about this and said that, it'd be pointless me being there. I would have been useless. If I'd have been there yesterday, I would have been totally useless because I can't walk very far. If I do it with a walking stick, you've got sort of 4 or 5 steps that gets up to the stage. Now, me getting up to the stage, by the time I got to the top step to start helping organise the changeover between 2 bands, it would be time to go down again. Totally pointless. Also, the journey there and back would have been a pain in the ass. The actual venue itself is upstairs, probably about 20 to 25 stairs. Again, the aggro of me sort of getting all the way up there. The more I thought about it, it just became, in my head, sort of impossible to do. So I phoned Andy up and I said, look, the time's come, I'm going to have to leave you to it, mate. I'm really sorry, but that's it. And Andy was, he was grateful for all the little help that I'd given. But again, he was so well organised. He didn't need me. I've had messages come back this morning after last night's event saying that everything ran to time. One band sort of managed to sort of go 5 minutes late, but everything else ran to time. Everything went on time. So to me, that's a success. And to have that place sold out as well. A lot of people got to meet Blaze Bailey, the headline act, and it looked like it was good.
Yeah, what a coup! That's actually a fair coup to get Blaze Bailey down there.
Well, I mean, you can imagine sort of me sitting there going, okay, so how do you top that? And that was one of the. I mean, we came up with a few ideas, but we had a lot of knockbacks. And if this thing, it's right. The name Burrfest has now picked up. It's only 4 years old, It's only been going for 4 years. But the name has really sort of picked up, and uh, we were getting calls and emails from people saying, "Can we do that?" But these were all what we would call opening acts. There was no one coming through as a potential headline. So Blaze Bailey, I mean, plus the fact he was doing an Iron Maiden related set, like the stuff he did on the 2 albums.
Awesome, absolutely.
Yeah,
Was.
yeah. I wish I'd seen it, but
Yeah, me too.
it is what it is.
Yeah, no, and look, I mean, he may not have been involved in Maiden's most successful era, but Blaze Bailey is an accomplished singer and musician, and highly highly respected. Highly respected.
Yeah.
I think.
And he's going from strength to strength. You know,
Yeah.
the more tours he does, the bigger and better he's getting.
Correct.
And he is gigging everywhere.
Correct.
And he's a very, very humble guy.
Yeah, yeah. That's certainly the feedback from a lot of fans. He's just a very down to earth guy and always takes time out with the fans. And I think, I guess, retrospectively, a lot of Maiden fans are now going back and rediscovering the 2 albums that Blaze did with Maiden. I mean, I have to put my hand up and confess that I'm one of those fans. I really struggled to come to terms with Bruce's departure in 1993, 94. It was hard, and you know I kind of blanked out that era for a while. But it's only recently. It's only in sort of last sort of 5 years I've gone back and rediscovered the X Factor, which is I think it's a fantastic album, really strong album, and Virtual 11. So Blaze has a lot of and rightfully so, a lot of admirers, a lot of fans. So Loopy, tell us, can you speak to the mission statement of Burrfest? So yes, it's great. You know, you got a whole lot of mates from all over the UK, Europe, and the world meet up. You know, a lot of great bands. What's the end game? What's the
Very simply, is the end game. The initial idea, as I said, going back to Clive Aid, was to raise money for MS action, MS awareness, multiple sclerosis, you know, that whole thing. And because Clive Aid fell on its arse, Clive Aid also had the backing of Iron Maiden. Wow. And having spoken to Steve in New York, he gave Burrfest the backing too. His sister's now involved in some of it. Clive Burr's wife, Mimi, she's now involved in it. But the whole idea is to raise awareness and raise money for MS. And that's it. That is the end game. Yeah, it's a great event of, you know, for old sort of Maiden friends, like as you said, from all over the world to come together and sort of see some of these artists. But Burrfest is it's quite well known for putting old bands back on the map. You look at Gypsy's Kiss, Steve's very first band.
Yeah.
Gypsy's Kiss are now headlining gigs all over the place. Now, if it hadn't been for their appearance at Burrfest for the first time in 44 years, or the first gig in 40 years, when some of the original lineup got up on stage and sang, they've now gone on from strength to strength. As I said, headlining gigs in their own right. And you've had ex Maiden members getting up, Dougie Sampson, Terry Watram, Terry Rance. You know, they've all got up and done their bit. But yeah, initially, well, the end game is all about raising awareness.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day when you sort of take away the bands, take away the fan meetups. At the end of the day, it is about a profoundly serious issue, and that is that of multiple sclerosis. And I don't know how many of our listeners know anybody with the disease, or that maybe even themselves have the diagnosis. But it is a very debilitating progressive disease, which can unfortunately take someone at their prime, fit, well, like Clive, and unfortunately reduce them to somebody who's not independent with their sort of daily living. Because it is, I mean, we should say it is a degeneration of the nervous system, so the brain, spinal cord. And when you get that I guess, loss of function of a very important organ, it affects just about every body system there is. So it affects their ability to walk, to talk, to feed themselves, to toilet themselves. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible disease, as is, similar to the other neurological disorders like motor neurone disease and whatnot. So it's a wonderful cause for a disease that we just don't have a cure for at the moment. And I think you and I were saying off air before we started recording that imagine if all our listeners and every Iron Maiden fan, for the price of a troop of beer. How much is a troop of beer in your neck of the woods?
It's just under £2.
Yeah, so that'd be about $5 Australian. If everybody put aside that amount of money and donated it to the local multiple sclerosis support group or support service, we would be in a good position to actually help the patients.
Potentially we could raise millions.
Yeah, and not only raise millions for research and development into the disease, but also help, everyday patients with multiple sclerosis. Because it's well documented Clive Burr's decline, but there's hundreds of thousands of people like that, and just a price of a troop of beer to donate that amount to your local multiple sclerosis support service, cumulatively goes a long way. I mean, we are a very powerful and large fan base. We really are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, Iron Maiden is now bigger than they ever were, more mainstream than they ever were, playing to bigger audiences than they ever were. So that there is that groundswell of support, and that's all it is, folks. It's the price of a troop of beer to be donated to. For example, in the UK, you've got the MS Action Trust, who I believe were the organisation that looked after Clive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's who. That's who Burrfest give all the proceeds to.
Yeah,
so.
and likewise in the United States, Canada, Europe, here in Australia, we all have every country, every jurisdiction has their own multiple sclerosis trust or support service. So it's a good thing. Loopy and I are going to do this. Loopy and I, we're going to pledge. We're going to commit the equivalent of £2, which is $5 Australian, which, what would that be in US? What would that be in US? I'm going to work it out. I'm actually going to work it out on
$4.
Yeah, I'm going to work it out on air. So $3.
Is that it?
All it is, $3. So our American brethren, it's $3.
So okay, guys. So what we're going to do, we are going to post the links, especially for Burrfest. We're going to post that in the video below, or below the video down here, where we expect all your questions and comments. And don't forget to press the like and subscribe. We're going to post the link below so that people want to donate. And all they've got to do is click on the link and donate to Burrfest. And I'm sure that Andy and Mimi and Linda and Mr. Harris. I'm sure they will all appreciate everything you give.
Yeah, and as I said, for our North American friends, our European friends, Australian, New Zealand listeners, it's a very, very simple Google search. Just look up your local multiple sclerosis organisation, support service. You can make an enormous amount of difference. And it's not just a difference, it's not just to the patients, it's to the carers, it's to the families. It goes a long way. It goes a long
Yeah,
way. It goes a long way towards respite for the families, towards the provision of just basic services that things that we take for granted every day. So
yeah, I
yeah,
do.
let's do it, guys.
I do.
We are a powerful and large fan base. Let's make some difference. All right.
Yeah, can't add anything more to that, Kaz.
We are global. And speaking of global, have you
Right,
got
nice segue.
have you got now? Look, you look well, Loopy. You spoke about medical issues, but you don't have a cough, you don't have a fever, you don't have any breathlessness, and you don't have a sore throat, which is reassuring at the moment because with this plague, this
Plague.
plague
Black
that's
Death.
what's going on here? What on earth is going on? It's just this is like some sort of
I don't
apocalypse.
know. You read so many different things about where this all started. Um, was this released?
What do you mean a bioweapon?
Coronavirus,
You're talking about a bioweapon?
or just generally sort of like accidentally escaped? You know,
What? Well,
it,
so
did,
so
did, did it actually come from bat droppings? Yeah, who knows?
so folks, obviously, to state the bleeding obvious, we're talking about the coronavirus. It my understanding is, or the general understanding is that it is a virus that started in animals. So it started in bats, and it's since jumped species into humans. And I think there was another host. So it was a snake, a bat, and so it went from snakes to bats to humans. And
Fucking well, okay.
I think
This is how my mind works. It just goes to prove that humans will fuck anything. If it ain't nailed down, shag it.
isn't that what that roadie jacket we were talking about in the 1983 episode?
Yeah, well, it was between a rodeo and a pig. Yeah. Yeah, shit.
No, look, it's obviously a serious matter. It's there's a lot of fear and hysteria going on, and really affecting. It's starting to affect everyday lives. I mean, we've had this panic buying that's going on now. Um,
I've got mine. Have you got yours?
I got mine last week because I think we started this, didn't we, here in Australia? We,
Yeah,
we were the
yeah.
first ones, and then
Says all my Australian friends, look what I've got.
yeah, I've got a few of these now. So um,
You could just stockpiling. I'll tell you what, this actually brings up a story that I read on Facebook the other day. We were talking a little while ago about Gypsy's Kiss. Now, the main guitarist and main singer, Dave Smith, was he was at his local supermarket, and the guy in front of him, all this guy had was these 3 huge packs of toilet roll. So Dave just made the comment to the bloke about, blimey, somebody must have had something dodgy last night. And the guy turned around and said to him, no, I'm stockpiling. So Dave said to him, why? And the geezer said, because I thought you had to.
Jeez.
It's like, mentality is just unbelievable.
Yeah, look, I think it's human nature, to panic and sort of catastrophize everything. I mean, I was at the local shopping centre, the local supermarket last Sunday, so about a week ago from when we're recording this show, and it was like a scene out of the Twilight Zone. I mean, people had trolleys with just mountains of toilet paper, and the funny thing is, fruit and vegetables, meat, chicken, fish, pork, ham, plentiful on the shelves, plentiful. But the non-perishable stuff like pasta, canned foods, and obviously toilet paper was the shelves were empty.
Hand sanitizer,
Hand
hand soap.
sanitizers, masks, completely empty. So there's no danger of going hungry because there's plenty of beef and chicken and lamb in the
Well,
shops.
at,
But
at the moment.
at the moment, but gee, you don't want to have a dodgy curry and spend the night in the toilet, too much. So it's
Thing is, I don't. All right, stockpiling because they don't know it. If everybody um, has to self isolate for 2 weeks, how much toilet paper do you need? Unless you've got a family of 30. It's serious. These people are panic buying and for absolutely no reason.
yeah. Look. I predict that in 12 months' time, we're going to look back on this and just shake our heads, going, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. What was that all about?
now, if this is the first time you're watching our show, you might think, what are these guys talking about? Why on earth are these guys talking about coronavirus? This is an Iron Maiden related show. Well,
Yeah,
there is, there is
there is. Yeah.
a direct link to this because we in 54 days, we have the first show of the third leg of the Legacy of the Beast tour, kicking off in Perth, Western Australia. A show that I have tickets to, that I'm planning on being there. And having a look at what's happening in the music industry and the sporting industry, public events have been cancelled, and several governments have flagged the cancellation or postponement of public events. So I know Italy, which is one of the hardest hit European country, the football with AC Milan was cancelled, or were they playing in an empty stadium? I can't quite recall.
Don't know. I missed that.
Yeah, but I know that
I
our
was, I was probably watching the other channel. I was watching the French football.
yeah, is that a better league? Is it? Well,
Yeah,
the
yeah, well,
Italians had the best football league in the late '80s. I mean, I remember 1988 to '91. I was obsessed with Italian football. But anyway, we digress. Uh, just the other day, I mean, our Prime Minister here in Australia, sort of forewarned that if this epidemic becomes more serious, then they won't hesitate to cancel sort of public engagements, and that's
large gatherings.
large gatherings, and that is the congregation of more than 5,000 people or less. So with 54 days until the Perth concert, that's quite a significant issue, because the Western Australian Department of Health put out a statement the other day saying that they expect the cases of coronavirus to start spiking in late April, early May, and to hit a peak in August. Now, granted, that's only talking about the southern hemisphere and talking about my country here, but I think Europe will be different. But nevertheless, it does raise the possibility and the prospect that the band will certainly need to at least keep a very close eye on and consider their plans, because it's already
Yeah,
happened. It's
I'm
already
sure there's someone sitting in the management's office. Um, Chances are that they've got someone sitting there who is monitoring this situation 24 hours. It's
no
so
question.
like, yeah, I asked you the question earlier, but about how much notice
Hmm.
I would have to give to sort of call off a show or call off a tour or call off several shows, whatever. And your answer was that the way things have sort of happened with like Schenker and Slipknot and whatever, they're only giving sort of 2 weeks
Two
notice.
weeks notice. Yeah. So just to clarify, as it stands right now, the following bands have cancelled their tours of Japan and Asia. It's Michael Schenker, Slipknot. I mean, Slipknot are a huge band. Sons of Apollo, and I believe Green Day as well have all cancelled their tours of Japan and the Far East, and almost all of them, the notice that they gave was 2 to 3 weeks, and even as a precedence, one of my other favourite bands, Kiss, who cancelled their Australian tour last November, I believe that was only a 2 or 3 weeks notice as well. So I think the promoter and the band's management or management of a lot of these acts will tend to sort of push it as far as they can go before they make a call, before they then need to deal with the logistics of cancelling shipping of props and gear and whatnot, stage gear. So it will be an interesting time. It will be a very interesting time. I think my gut feeling, and it'd be interesting to watch this back in a couple of months to see, how well this comment will age. But my gut feeling is that the Australian tour might go ahead still, because we have a very robust health system, and because of all the panic and people are very over precautious, I think we should contain the virus. We should, but then again, if you have an enormous spike, that throws that out the window, and the band may cancel. So several acts have already done it. The question is what will happen with the European shows. I mean, Bologna is July 20th, and Italy is one of the hardest hit countries. Now, the situation will most definitely improve in the next 4.5 months in Italy, but we don't know. I mean, if this turns into a pandemic, what? It's all these questions. All these questions get raised, and at the moment, it's a lot of unknown entities.
All we can do is just say, watch this space.
Exactly.
The interesting point about these bands cancelling is it's just the lack of time. That 2 weeks, you get somebody excited to go and see Iron Maiden in Perth on the 1st of May, and in the middle of April, all of a sudden that's taken away because the virus has got out of control or whatever. That must be hard, but at the end of the day, it's only temporary.
Of course.
But if any other bands get cancelled, then please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah. I think. I don't know who else is touring it.
And also, if you have any questions, obviously, like Kaz is a GP, and he might be able to answer the questions for you. So just throw your questions below.
That's it. So, look. On that note, we can finish off for this episode, and let's just see how things go. I think by the time episode 12 comes around, we'll know a lot more. But look, I have my flights and my hotel booked in Perth. I have every intention of going there, whether there's a tour or not. It's a beautiful place, lovely seafood, lovely beaches, and I intend on being there whether there's a tour or not, whether there's a gig to go to or not. But look, let's hope this settles down and the world gets back to just some modicum of normality, I suppose. So.
Yeah, totally agree.
Good-o. All right.
Basically, you've got to carry on.
Of course. As the old Manowar song says, carry on.
Yeah, carry on. My wayward son.
Good. Anything else to add, sir? Anything else to finish off? Any other thing you want to finish off with?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. All right. Take care, everyone. All the best to you and your families, and we shall see you next one.
Next one.
Next one.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.